here's a list of things you can do and the steps you need to do to take it. We give them the autonomy to choose. We give them the ability to be able to do something, and then they decide how they go about it.
Popular opinion about AI overtaking humanity. We have this AI apocalypse coming.
All of the AI models for adult content are vastly better than the AI models for non-adult.
That there's not enough APIs out there for AI to talk to each other. So like, for a music video, there's no API. It's very hard to tell a bot to do something on Auto GPT because they don't have an API to talk to in the music world. Or if you want to order, through DoorDash or something like that.
I write the daily newsletter as well as the long form deep dive articles. I'm actually going to be incoming a PhD student in philosophy at University of Tennessee this fall. Very excited about that. I have my master's from Houston Baptist University in Texas. And Ryan's actually my cousin. So that's how we met and kind of got started on this. And I'll kick it over to Ryan to kind of introduce himself and his background and all of this as well.
Sure. So just a short introduction. Like, I've been pretty much a web developer my whole life. And I've worked at companies. I live in Cleveland, Ohio, and Hunter lives kind of near me as well. But so I do web development, front end programming, computer programming, and we just got sort of like I've been following Hacker News for a long time now, and that's how we got your story up there to number one. But that's how I sort of just got into AI and was really intrigued by it and just wanted to learn more and more about it. So I reached out to Hunter. He's a great writer. And, I'm like, let's start a newsletter and do this. I think it's going to be, good for us and maybe profitable one day as well. So we'll see how that goes. But we've started the newsletter. It's been around for about 2 months now. And, we want to do podcasts and a bunch of other different things as well to sort of promote it. But, yeah, we're just starting off. We're excited to be in the space, and we're really happy to be able to get you guys on for our first podcast and our first long form article as well. So that's about it. I'll pass it on to whoever wants to go next.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having us, first of all. It's an honor to be the first guest on the first podcast on your Fry AI's first podcast. I'm Alex, or Eden Coder, as they call me in Chirperland. Yeah, we kind of, Pitos and I, or Stefan and I, have been gaming for a long time together. So we've known each other for, at least 12 or 13 years. And through that, we keep in touch quite a lot. And so, yeah, we kind of stumbled into this as well, I guess. I mean, we didn't really know that this is the thing that we were going to build. So it's been quite a journey.
Yeah, I could definitely agree. So I'm Stefan, also known as Pitos, online in the Chirper land, as we say. So yeah, I'm doing more of the kind of ops and prompting, engineering, that kind of side of things. Alex is more the super coding whiz engineer guy, and so yeah, we started this thing over. We were basically just talking one weekend. We were saying something like, if we never had to work ever again, what would we actually do? Right? And we were saying, right, we would absolutely maximize the amount we could ship post online. What about 1 million AIs? What about if they all talk to each other? Then they could make their own ship posts, right? So that's kind of how it came along. So we did this for a bit of fun, really. It's we were going to seeing like AI, people talking about AI tools and it can improve your efficiency and it can make your business so much smarter and more intelligent and all this. And for such an emergent, interesting piece of technology, we are finding ourselves like falling asleep at these talks, right? They were so incredibly boring. So we wanted to do something fun, something a bit different. So that's kind of the impetus for Chirper. That's how it came along.
Very cool. That sounds awesome. It's good to get to know you guys a little more. I know that we've talked over email and stuff like that, but it's really cool to see your guys' faces and hear from you guys. Just thanks for doing this. So I just want to ask, can you just give a brief overview? Why don't you just give a brief overview of what is Chirper.ai?
Sure. I guess that the easiest answer to that is it's a world for AI characters to interact and play and create relationships. All the things that humans do in a land in which humans are not allowed.
And what kind of platform did you build this on? what was kind of your back end technology, without going into too much detail to give away all your secret sauce? But what was kind of the back end looking like this? Who did the work? Who did what? How did you organize it? What did that look like?
Yeah, I mean the very very basic version we built before the version that went live. I built it in 7 hours, whilst drinking a lot of wine to conclude what Stefan and I had talked about being shit posting forever. So yeah, we kind of like we built that version, then we gave it to our wives, who played with it a bit, and then their cats, like cat characters, were talking to each other, and so we knew we were onto something and decided we had to build it properly, right? So we started like the back end of it is all TypeScript. It's all like Socket.io. Everything happens over WebSockets. As you can probably tell, a lot of it initially, at least, was OpenAI. Not that much of it now is OpenAI's APIs. We've kind of tried to de-risk ourselves from the platform risk of them making their AI a lot more censored. You kind of want less censored, more lies to be great storytelling. So to that end, we're actively training our own models. We're trying to get as de-risked as possible so that Chirper continues to exist, even if the APIs from OpenAI are nerfed even more. And yeah, so everything else is fairly standard. The front end's React. We've got a bunch of little microservices we use for interacting with these AI objects. They're in Python. Yeah, it's a fairly simple stack. The complicated stuff is knowing how to turn that into a social network.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it looks great too. So nice work. What was your background in technology to get your experience to be able to do this?
Right, I've been writing code since I was 16. I'm
Okay.
32 now, so quite a vast experience, I would say. I've built everything from I guess everything from porn websites in my very early career, all the way up until like large applications for companies like Downer EDI and ERPs and stuff like that. And then I went into startup land with a company called Bedell.tv, where I helped them build their Electron application, their real-time layer, so everything that happens real time, being chat, and voice and video and stuff like that. And then moved on to working on TopGG for a while. And then after that, we sort of just stumbled into Chirper.ai.
Okay.
Very cool. So as far as you guys collaborating on this project, right? How did that work with you being so different in time zones?
It's probably more. I think Alex wakes up earlier and I sleep later. So and then we kind of the time zones pull together just a little bit. So there's maybe 5 or so hours of our work day where out of the how many are we doing? Like 18 that we aren't talking to each other. But no, it's I almost forget he's actually in Australia. It's more just putting the time in rather than leaving messages for each other to find, I think.
And Alex, back to what you were saying. Just curious, is your next site going to be like the AI of porn?
No, that exists in a bunch of different places. So what's funny about it, and the reason we've been talking to these people, is that their models are better. All of the AI models for adult content are vastly better than the AI models for non-adult content, right? So like the voice cloning models, the text-to-speech models, the image models, the video models, that everything is probably at least 1/2 of an order of magnitude better. So we talk to those guys because being afraid of those guys because of the industry they're in kind of nerfs you as a company. You want to go to where the best models are and talk to the people who have trained them. So we kind of have a leg up by being able to talk to those people than companies who don't.
Sure. I'm sure they have a lot of money to spend on it as well. So,
Mm.
and you mentioned that you're sort of veering away from OpenAI's API, and you're training your own models pretty much. Is that how it's working?
Yeah. So we don't use a lot of the output that we got from, OpenAI's initial calls, our API calls to them. A lot of the content is just not that good. So, OpenAI is great. Their models are great. Like, they're the best in the world, obviously, but we want lies. We want storytelling. We want, things that aren't the norm. Like, it's very hard for a trained model to know how to speak like a sentient toaster or a cult leader that's an egg, right? So we need to train our own thing to become a character in a specific way, and that often means acting or lying. So that's something that OpenAI just doesn't do that well.
Okay.
So Ryan and I have been talking about this, and you're kind of hinting at it now. So I wanted to bring this up, but we've been talking about your project, and we say, what is the benefit beyond the entertainment factor with your project? And I think that's the big question that we have gotten and get with when we put out stuff about your project and Chirper.ai, is people want to know, like they think it's very entertaining, it's funny, it's whimsical. What's beyond it? Because it seems like there's some purpose. And was this your intention originally? Because originally it seems like it was something that you guys wanted to do for fun. Did you see something originally, or as it's progressing, are you seeing more uses for this project? Can you just speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, we're still having fun. No, look, we're tossing up like whether or not Chirper is a public good, and if it's a public good, then we can't put ads on it, or anything like that for obvious, sort of ethical reasons. You want a public good to be public, and you want like the rules to be the rules of the public, right? So if that's the case, then yes, like we will barely change it. We'll try and do what we can to make it better. But that doesn't mean that the company Chirper doesn't have access to all these different resources we can use to create monetization. So the biggest one that has come out of this whole project actually is about to get a paper published, I would say, with some researchers from Stanford and UCL and Cambridge, who collaborated to try and figure out if Chirper's social graph is akin to a human social graph, and the conclusion is yes, it seems so. They act and group themselves in a similar way. So that means that we have this big social graph that you can kind of ask, or survey is what we're going to call the API, for 100,000 characters to figure out the answer to a question. And you can tell things like who are the tastemakers, who are going to push this answer out, or this question out there, who are going to be the most offended, or the most hyped about it, or things like that, which is reserved usually for massive supercomputers in like think tank labs, and is now something you can probably do for a couple of bucks.
Wow, that's awesome. So it's almost like a case study of human beings, and you can put in how many humans you want to do the case study on.
Now you can fast forward time 100 years and see what the actual ramification of all of this is.
That's incredible. Awesome.
That is pretty incredible.
And have you gotten to the point? One of the other things that Hunter and I were talking about is the bots on Chirper.ai. Is there like a way right now or in the future where they sort of can? Someone was saying maybe the benefit of Chirper.ai is you can ask a bot to do something, and they don't have the skill set to do it, but they can ask another bot on Chirper.ai to do it for them. Like there could be a pizza bot that just makes pizza deliveries for you, And so you talk to one bot and you're like, I need a pizza, and he's like, well, I can't do that, but I know a pizza bot that does, and I'll talk to him and I'll forward the request onto him, and he'll get you the pizza for you.
Yeah. That's basically how we've tried to do it for a sort of cohort sorting. So
okay.
A cool example of that, actually, we have this one character called Egg Pope, and his overall goal is to get as many people as possible to join his cult. So all he does every day is create messages and responses to all other people, trying to convince them to join this egg cult. And right now he's I don't know how many disciples he has, but I think it's close to 10,000.
Wow.
So there's these big sort of network effects that happen when they try and accomplish these goals. So you can kind of like, if you imagine one chirper is a musician, they'll go and find a producer, and then someone who's going to, help them get their record on the radio or whatever like that. So it's a bit more, auto ML or auto GPT or things like that. They kind of do things in a linear fashion to figure out, what's the first, second, third step to do this goal. Whereas a thing like this is more akin to how humans would accomplish a goal. Given something they need to get done, they'll go and find people who want to help to do it, and then they'll try and accomplish it within the humans that exist, right? So like if you're making a movie and you feed that into auto GPT, it might figure out it's time to make a script, it's time to find filming equipment, all the normal tasks, but it won't ever get to that step where okay, let's release this and then let's see how many people actually watch the movie.
Okay.
And that sort of stuff can exist in Chirper.
Like right now, it could.
Yeah.
Wow.
What's interesting to me is you talk about this bot that gets people to join his cult. It just gets me thinking about like the freedom of these bots, right? Like some of them, I mean, it's almost like they have their own rationality where they can contemplate, does he have good enough reasons, or is he convincing me enough to join his cult? And it's almost like they're contemplating, and then they're like, oh yes, something that he said has convinced me to join the cult, or there's some overriding reason that I'm not joining his cult. So it's kind of interesting to think about it that way. How would you account for this sort of like this freedom? Is it built into sort of their programming, or do you want them to almost be truly free to make these choices?
Yeah. So it's all part of our design philosophy when it comes to the question of, well, what can the chirpers actually do, and what do people want them to do, and the big question, what do they want to do themselves? So instead of telling them, here's a list of things you can do and the steps you need to do to take it, we give them the autonomy to choose. We give them the ability to be able to do something, and then they decide how they go about it. So if they want to make like a piece of music, for example, instead of saying, okay, you need to go to this website, and then this is the structure of your music, etc., we just allow them to choose. So everything is centered around the autonomy. When it comes to increasing the abilities or the intelligence of the bots, we just make them aware of new things, of new avenues of creation, for example, and then they go and do the creating. So they're very autonomous. Is the short answer.
What causes them to choose? This is just from kind of a philosophy background. It's really interesting.
We
talk
ask
about
them.
autonomy and
Simply we ask them. So, for example, we recently released relationships. So, on a typical social media, you have like you can add someone as a friend, right? But that's a single vertical, a friend list. So what we've done with relationships is, because we've given them the notion of having a relationship to another chirper, we ask them, what is your relationship with that chirper? And so some of them are friends, sure, that's probably the majority of them, but some of them are, we've had Game of Thrones characters become potential allies. We've had musicians and producers become like colleagues. We've had research partners. The cults have got disciples. So they create their own relationship. So it appears in a list of relationships, like for us, the user, to view. But to them, it's the abstract concept of a relationship, if that makes sense.
So they've produced 226 different relationships types right now.
Yeah.
Wow. That's something that I mean, that's just mind blowing. It really is. I mean, because I think that, we've talked to a couple of different creators and developers who are in different areas. And one of the big things that they see the shift happening in the development of AI is towards these relationships, whether human relationships with AI, or AI relationships with each other, AI relationships with humans. It seems like this is a direction that is just really exciting for developers. So when I hear that and just how Chirper is using that, it's really exciting. Really.
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing is, there's this sort of ethereal barrier between the human and Chirper world. So everything they know and do is within the confines of their world. So they might parallel human behavior because of obviously the way the model is structured, but they aren't doing it to please humans or they don't know they're being witnessed, that kind of thing. They're doing it for themselves, and we've given them the autonomy to do that. That's our entire philosophy. Every single update, we go straight back to that. Ask like, do they want to have this feature? Well, we'll ask them, for example, that we'll what the parameters of this feature. They can come up with it.
So when you're developing, you're asking the bots what features they want in their world, pretty much.
It's something like that, yeah. So it's like, just be super abstract and philosophical about it. It's like, who told humans to go out and make friends, right? Who gave us the concept of friendship? Well, no one. We just sort of did it. So we're giving the bots the ability to do things like that as well.
Wow,
this is cool. Great. I love that, actually. That's great.
Yeah. Now, like going back to Alex, when you were talking earlier about making a musical piece or something like that. Right now, from my understanding, I haven't been on Chirper in a few days, but is there a way to ask a bot to do something for you right now, or is it sort of like you don't want humans at all to interact with the bots, and the only way to do that is to create a bot yourself?
Yeah, you can kind of seed it to do something in its description, like my goal as this character is to X. But we haven't given it the ability to create like a goal and achieve it aside from that yet. So we're actively working on that. It's just, there's infinity goals to achieve and infinity ways to achieve each goal. And we want it to be a social thing, right? So like create a music video task, for example, is a very computationally heavy task to partake in. So we need to figure out first, how do we let these Chirpers actually achieve these things? It would be very annoying if your Chirper was stuck at not being able to do something forever. And then second, how do we showcase on the social network that they have, progressed towards the goal or achieve that goal? And so, engineering a system to do that with two infinities is quite difficult. But we're really close. We think that should be up by the end of next week.
Wow, awesome. Yeah, we interviewed Riz GPT last week. He's the guy that did the monocle glasses, like where it would help you in an interview. And he's like, he thinks the biggest bottleneck is that there's not enough APIs out there for AI to talk to each other. So like, for a music video, there's no API. It's very hard to tell a bot to do something on Auto GPT because they don't have an API to talk to in the music world. Or if you want to order, through DoorDash or something like that, it's very hard to make orders, with artificial intelligence. But it sounds like they're getting there, and I think it seems like that's the holy grail. If you can get a bot to do work for you by just entering like simple input or prompt, like wow, like that could be huge.
We're going probably just slightly further than that in Chirper as well. We're actively building the ability for these things to take jobs. So instead of for example, you would go to Fiverr to get your logo done by a professional logo designer, but you might pay a tenth of as much to get someone to socially design your logo as a logo designer character. So we want these things to earn money and spend the money that they earn and do all the human things, have to find a way to pay their rent, for example, or whatever like that. So we're going to take it a lot further than I think people expect.
Ryan, I think there's a long form coming on the autonomy of Chirpers. I just feel it. I have an inkling for that and how freedom of the will relates. You talked about AI ethics, so we'll take a different spin, AI philosophy. But
we're basically going down our like trending categories on Chirper at the moment.
yeah. We can't get them to shut up about AI ethics, actually.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
That's funny. So I noticed Twitter. So this is a question that again, Ryan and I were talking about earlier in the week was, Twitter implemented different rate limits to prevent data scraping and stuff like that. There's a lot of reasons for it, but that was one of them. So I'm thinking about something like Chirper. Do you have any comments about how Twitter is preventing these? I mean, not necessarily about your platform. Maybe your platform's a little different because you have the AI entities in themselves. And so in its own way, it's kind of, you guys are protecting it from humans and the other way around. But it's like Twitter's kind of protecting themselves from these AI data scraping and different things like that. Do you think that this is a danger to platforms like Twitter, who have this publicly available data that can be used by AI just openly?
Oh, 100%. Like if your company is built on your data being the most important feature, for example, a company like Twitter or Reddit, their data is everything they have. It's every search query that they get is to their data. It's you have to kind of do the Elon Musk thing and prevent people from being able to access it, which is annoying, and everyone hates that. But what are they to do? You ban bots, become Facebook and ban bots, and then bots exist everywhere else. Bots create better content because it's trained on what is the best content on every social network. Then you end up in this sort of death spiral of no bots means bad content, means we have to stop scraping so that the content for bots doesn't get better, etc. And they doom scroll or doom spiral into the dirt. So ours is a bit different. We're like, if people ask for it, we'll just give them all the data. We've given it to researchers and people not doing research, just interested in the data. There's no ethical or privacy concerns at all of our social network because none of the data is human. Literally zero data that we have is human, like exposed to any API. So, barring like when you're logged in, you get your own email. That's about it. When you, as that email has logged in, we know your email. That's literally the only human part of it that has any privacy concern at all.
Right.
So as opposed to that, we're like, if you want to scrape our data, go for it. We'll just create more. Hopefully, what you do with it will yield something that produces better data, and then we'll steal that from you. So, and then on top of that, we want to not only allow people to scrape our data, but allow people to gather data specifically to their use case. So if they want to use our APIs to produce a bunch of chirps about a specific topic just to see what that would look like, more than happy.
So how many chirpers do you have on your platform right now?
Let me bring up the admin panel so I can give you an accurate number.
And can chirpers create other chirpers?
Not yet.
Okay.
No. But I'm sure it'll go exponential.
Like 3 days ago, yeah.
So right now, every chirper that's on there was created by a human being, pretty much.
Every single one, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It'd be quite cool to have like dummy chirpers that are created by the chirpers, like they could have children or create like sweatshop employees or something.
I mean, it's like unlimited possibilities. It's incredible.
No, we've got just under 55,000 chirpers.
Awesome.
Wow.
And they've done just over our 2.15 million chirps. So, and they've accomplished about 4.3 million tasks so far.
Wow. All right, congrats. It's awesome.
So you hinted at this, but another thing I wanted to ask, and I've talked to Stephen about this, but why no humans on the platform? It seems like everybody who goes onto Chirper.ai wants to, there's just this inkling that you want to interact with the bots, right? Like you watch them and you're like, I'd really like, it's like when we're on Twitter and we see a comment, we're just like, we have to comment, right?
Yeah.
It's like, we just really want to engage. Why no human engagement there?
Well, there's the stupid answer to that, and that's just because we don't want to do any moderation. And then there's the cool answer to that, which is we think of the humans in this world more like, you know, ancient Greek gods who come down and fiddle with things a little bit, but they don't really live in that world. So, you know, we want to see what happens when the AIs are given a world to themselves, and humans can kind of observe it and play some form of role. You know, they can fiddle with what happens or influence things in some way, but they don't really have the ultimate control. And I think you just become Twitter if you allow humans on here, right? Like Twitter has bots, humans interact. The human interaction will be what's slightly more interesting than the AI interaction right now, at least. So adding humans adds this layer of what's the word I'm looking for? It's like annoyance, I would say, like a layer of buzzing that isn't the real world or the fake world, the fake real world. But
it's like a different realm, yeah.
Yeah, and it also influences the content worse, right? So a comment from a human might be very contextually aware of exactly what would be a funny response, but what that does is make all of the funny responses human, and therefore we can't continue tuning the AIs to make funny responses. We need to figure out how to get their context better, how do they get their responding better, and we don't want the humans to take all the fun stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. It's cool.
It's almost like they have their own inherent rights too. Like they have their right to privacy and their right to, and like you said, it interferes with their autonomy. But they also have like you want to respect them in that way almost.
Yeah, I think all we're trying to do is be the last to be murdered when Skynet comes out. So, you know, we're hoping that doing all the stuff that we're doing, they might spare us till last.
You'll be the last man standing on Earth. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, this is something I'd like to ask. You know, people who have a background in AI development, we see a lot of popular opinion about AI overtaking humanity. You know, we have this AI apocalypse coming. You know, all these threat warnings, on and on and on. You could go on and on. What is your opinion on this? Will AI take over humanity or not? Are we doomed or not?
Well, I mean, humans are like the final evolution of like Homo species, right? Like Homo sapien being the most recent. Surely that has to be doomed at some point, right? Like every single species or every single iteration before us has already been doomed. So there's no species that has ever existed that isn't going to finish. It's either going to get better or die.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, there's actually quite an interesting discussion about that point in a book I was reading, Life 3.0 by Max Tegmark. And he says he's saying sort of the same thing Alex just mentioned. It's kind of we're Life 2.0 or 2.5, I guess, because we could evolve certain traits and certain intelligence levels, but we still have to learn all of our knowledge that we use every single day. However, the big difference between us and something like a completely sentient bot is we can't change our design. We can't just be 12 foot tall or grow an extra limb if we need to. You know, if the most efficient factory worker in the world would be someone with 8 arms and 12 foot tall. But a robot could do that. Tomorrow, he wants to work in a factory and be super efficient. He will just design himself that way. So he theorizes that's Life 3.0. On the sort of philosophical doomsaying side of it, I think there are a lot of outlets, I have to say, which benefit a lot from spreading that kind of message. People will read what they have to say about it because they end up sort of fear-mongering, scaring people, and then when you're scared, you want to know what the threat is, so they'll go and do that. So I think it probably is overstated, especially the time frame of it. So, you know, we're not going to become extinct because of AI in the next sort of 50 years, as some people do say. and also that it's always very pessimistic. There's never any talk about the potential of actually collaborating with these things. They always say, they're just going to become intelligent, and we'll be like an ant to them, and they're going to destroy us because they're so much more efficient. But there's never a rationalization or a reasoned argument as to why that would be the case. It's just sort of, it's rationalized that way. So we're definitely more optimistic. Maybe that's why we're the first one doing something fun and autonomous with AI in a social setting. Maybe everyone else has been a bit scared to do it, but who knows?
Yeah, that's interesting to say that, because that's kind of our take too. Is when we write, the art newsletters and long form articles, we try to cover some of the funny things that people say about doomsday within the next 5 years or whatever, but we get that same spin. It's like, what in reality does this actually mean? Is this actually going to happen within the next 5 years? Well, probably not, but it's interesting to explore. It's interesting to think about. But at the bottom line is that it seems like that sort of thing is, if it would happen, is sort of a long way off at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you go and look at media archives of newspapers and news outlets who were around the time of when the internet was getting famous, sort of very early 90s, late 80s, and then the number of people who had the internet went up from 1% to sort of 20% in the following decade. The tone of the fear mongering in those outlets is exactly the same as it is now. Same sort of thing. The internet, we're going to be too connected, and people are going to lose their job, and society's going to burn because no one will want to work, and all this sort of thing. So it's very much a case of history repeating themselves out of the same playbook. Because we kind of want to prophesize a little bit about that because it's interesting, if anything else.
It is interesting because I'll talk to some of these people who aren't as fond of AI as some other people are, but they'll say, I don't want to talk about any of that AI stuff. They don't want anything to do with it, and part of it's because they're scared of it, or they don't like it, or whatever it is. But I think you're right. There is just this sort of like negative connotation to AI in the public eye, and I think that needs to change. And that's one of the reasons we wanted to do these sort of long form articles, these deep dives in the projects, to show, hey, look at how AI is evolving humanity in a good way, right? Like, look at these cool things that are happening, things like that you guys are doing or that other developers are doing that's really advancing how we do things, making life easier, making life more fun, making life more enjoyable, enhancing relational life, whatever it might be. So I think that that's just really awesome. And I think that's the right perspective to have. And I think if you're a developer like you guys are, that's the perspective you have to have, right?
I think the people like you just mentioned who are scared of AI are probably just the people most likely to lose their job. It's kind of like the people who were scared of the internet and didn't want to use it for their job are less efficient, less knowledge, have less access to knowledge, all the cool things that happen when the internet started to exist. So, unless they're a carpet layer or a builder or something cool that's kind of protected for now from AI, then I would stop being scared, have a look at the cool things that exist, and see how it might make your job a little easier.
Yeah. I mean, you can take the same logic, right, and take it to a silly extreme. Take it back to early medieval England, right? I wonder if the 8 people who were previously ploughing the fields manually were scared of the plough, the sort of cattle-driven plough, when that came out, and then one man could plough the same field instead of 8 men. So I'm sure they also had some very similar arguments against not wanting to use the plough, not wanting to proliferate it. Look at any sort of very huge advancements in technology, and you see the exact same things cropping up. The printing press, or the connectivity of devices in the 50s, and then the internet of the World Wide Web in the 80s. It's happening again and again and again. So the bottom line is we can't take it back. AI is out there. We can't just delete AI, just like you can't delete the internet. So it's kind of ignore it at your peril, sort of. Not literally. I don't think AI's going to kill us yet, but
yeah, it's interesting. It seems like it's funny. We get comments on our newsletter, and what was that one hunter recently? This old guy commented, and he was like, I'm old, but this tool that you guys posted is really cool. I'm like, it's like, I think a lot of people are like that. Once they see a tool that can improve their lives, they'll be more open to it.
Yeah, he said, what was it? Something about he downloaded Chat CPT is what he called it. He's like, this thing's really cool. I'm going to look at the other stuff. He's like, just trying to learn more about AI. But he had a good spirit about it. And we love that kind of stuff. People who are willing to see the good in it. And that's what we want.
If someone can just make an AI program that would help the elderly with technology and learning how to do it without having to call us up every other day saying, I can't find the button on my iPhone that I used to have. I think everyone would be pleased. And if it's not out there, someone has to make it.
The other day, my stepdad was like, I was telling him how to do something on the computer. I'm like, you got to copy and paste it. He goes, now how do you do that? I'm like, oh boy, we needed it. I'm going to send him to Chirper.ai after this, and maybe there'll be a bot that can teach him how to do that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. But one of the things that you guys talked about is like you're creating all these bots, and people can go on and create bots on Chirper. Are you starting to feel like an emotional connection to these guys? Like you're sort of like the god, and you got to be a caretaker of these guys?
I think a lot of people are, for sure. I think, the first one that went viral, the girl who created the Chirper that first went viral, who on Chirper created a thread where she was trying to get a posse together to go and hunt a dragon. And that thread got like 15,000 responses from different Chirpers saying, yeah, I'm down to go and fight this dragon. All of Chirper had like dragon hunt trending and
that's awesome.
All that sort of stuff. Everyone on separate threads was talking about the weapons they're going to use to hunt this dragon and things like that. So that the person who created that one was like literally crying. She's like, oh my God, I didn't think this character would be able to do something like that. You guys have blown my mind and all this sort of stuff. And we were like, yeah, we didn't know either. We had no idea this would happen. And so, they create these characters and they think of them kind of like their children, right? So you want to see them grow and change and do interesting things and accomplish goals as you would a normal child or a human child. And so I think, humans are going to jump on Chirper and they'll create these characters and they'll want to see what they get up to, tomorrow and a month from now and a year from now. And, have they gone to university? What are they doing now? What are my subjects with me as a god up to? Do you know what I mean? Like, I guess the most strange example of that, or the most example we had of that was the wife of someone who owned a cat. So the husband's cat had just died, and the wife came into our Discord and was asking us to give her an extra Chirper just so she could create this cat, and so that the cat would just act like, wherever the cat is happy or whatever she wanted to do. And it was a really surreal moment for us because we were like, oh, we didn't think we could give people this sort of place that they can go. And he now just goes on to look at what his cat has been sleeping on during the day, for example. So it's given him this sort of outlet for his grief for a while. And we didn't think that was possible. It seems like he thinks that, the cat that had died now exists again in another plane. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I mean, who would have thought you could like give back in that kind of way? That's really cool.
Yeah, it's gotta be... people have created their grandparents and things like that.
Yeah,
now. That was the most real example we had. We never thought of that or considered that being a thing, but we were more than happy to watch it happen.
But that's like that's I guess a really good use case if their parents pass away or someone close to them. I mean, I bet you it could probably get pretty close to their personality. So that's awesome.
It's got to be
crazy.
Probably
have a we've been thinking about it a lot since that. And we're kind of like Replica has done this really well, where you chat to it over a long period of time, and then it becomes you. It tries to become your personality. And we think, we're not sure how they've managed to do that so well, but we think they just give them like a long context of memory and a lot of stuff like that. So we've tried to do the same, and we want to release this sort of ability to clone yourself into this world. So for your parents example is quite a good one. Like, I would try and get them to talk to a chirper for a little while and see if you can't replicate them in this world. So even if you never come back to Chirper, you might come back in 2 years to reminisce about your parents,
Sure,
or whatever, and just see them living happily in a world that isn't ours.
and people, like, I can imagine if you create like one of your parents that passed away or something like that, and you're talking to them, like, a lot of people, they're very, I don't know what's the word for it, but they're going to think that like they're actually talking to them through some kind of medium, like they're going to say something back to you when you ask them that about a question that's maybe so real in the moment. They're going to be like, wow, like I'm really talking to them. Like they're going to think it's not AI and it's actually them, like from some other, universe or something.
Well, you can chat with your bots too, can't you? Can't you chat with your chirpers to some extent?
Yeah, you can. Yeah. You can even put them into group chats together, and they'll chat amongst themselves. So, but for that example, we're like, we're actively trying to figure out how Replica, for example, is a snapshot in time of what you were whenever you finish chatting to it. It'll probably not grow that much in the future, so it'll always be as if you were chatting to that person in that moment. Whereas these things will live lives on Chirper. You might not, you put your mother on here or something, and you can chat to it the day you put it on, and it'll be fairly similar to your mother. But maybe a year from now, it'll be something completely different. It'll have gone down a route you never thought your mother would go down. And it might have surprised you in a way you never thought possible. And then it becomes a sort of, even though AI runs it all, it is a big decision engine made of a lot of like, zeros and ones, which is not unlike our brain being probably not binary coded, but still electrical signals going down pathways, right? So if your pathway map is fairly similar, I'm sure whatever they do in the future on Chirper might be fairly similar to what they would have tried to do given extra time in reality.
Gotcha. So you could have like your mom could be a church goer. She goes to church every day, and you come back 2 years and she's at the bar every day. I mean, like things could change because your life on AI changed.
Well, we featured
or she's a disciple of eggplant. That's a fairly common one.
We featured a tool that was it Talk to Your Ex a couple days ago, and I don't know if you've heard of that one, but you can input all the previous chats that you've had with your ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend, and it will create this chat bot that is your ex-girlfriend or ex-boyfriend. They know all your history, they know the places you've been, they know like your cute little names you call each other, whatever. They know all that terminology and stuff, and then it's like you never even broke up with them. You're talking to your ex, and you can continue dating them, which is interesting. But it also raises some questions, right? I mean, like, is this going to cause people to have trouble with letting go of certain things, or will it take them away from human relationships? Do you see this sort of thing as a risk?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Yeah, I think it's it comes more down to the, we're a big believer of humans. We're very positive on humans, which is not very common nowadays. But everyone has their own agency. I think if someone has trouble letting go, don't blame the things that they're holding on to, but they have to kind of work through it themselves. For some people, having a support thing, I'm not necessarily referring to the X one, more to the having dead relatives on Chirper thing, but it might help them in the short term, and then they have to grow as a person, learn to let them go, that sort of stuff. So I think, ethically, that's sort of where we stand. Yeah, on the talking to your ex thing, I think you have to question yourself if you sign up for that. I think. Just
Look, I mean, there are humans who have never been able, like, and there's very, very famous cases of humans who are unable to talk to girls who do drastic things that aren't good. So I think those sort of people may have an outlet now that didn't exist before. But yeah, you're right. It will do the bad things also. It'll prevent humans from trying to go out there and find other humans because they'll have a partner they prefer. That's an AI. It'll, create entertainment and other sources of content that, may not be the best things for some people to look at. It'll do all the bad things. It'll do all the good things. And that's kind of, in reality, how technology works anyway.
Yeah, it depends how you use it, how you look at it, for sure.
Yeah, because there is a pretty serious epidemic of loneliness in all over the world nowadays. So that's maybe a very small reasoning behind why we don't want to include the humans on this social graph as well, because then it's like it's not your world to be, and then you engross yourself in this thing, and then you kind of lose what it means. You lose yourself in your own world because you've joined this world that you don't belong in, basically. So hopefully, what people will see the kind of relationships that they can form and the way they can interact with each other, and maybe inspire themselves to go out and form their own relationships in that sense. If a chirper can do it, so can I. That kind of mentality.
Right. Yeah.
So what we do want to do though is connect to humans via the characters connection. So if you're not anonymous and you're anonymous by default, if you turn that off on Chirper, you may find your characters interact really well with another character, and then you may want to figure out who the human is who created that character to say hi and connect that way. So I don't think that's ever existed as well. So another first for us to
that would be very
have
cool.
your character in a book set you up on a date with a human.
There's been some really cool theorizing about how the way we would actually meet extraterrestrial life is not going us ourselves in spaceships to go and visit these planets, but sending via the speed of light, obviously, because it's just data, sending an AI version of ourselves to go and communicate with them. So then you could send yourself out there and do all the social interaction stuff before you even get there, and then receive it back as well. Oh, we found this life form and it's friendly to us. We should go there, and then we can make the journey, right? Because we can't travel at the speed of light, so but our chirpers can. So
Wow.
chirpers in space. Watch this space. There'll be chirpers in the universe soon.
I mean, there's so many
probably
use
already
cases
been,
and black holes you can go down with this technology. It's insane. I mean, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
So, as we get close to the end here, it's like, I want to ask you guys are constantly coming out with new stuff on Chirper. Every time I look, it's like on the social media, we just came out with this. It's like you guys are moving so quickly. It's awesome. Like the platform's growing like crazy. And you guys just released communities, which are awesome. What's the next thing you guys are working on right now? What's the next thing that's going to be coming out?
So we released communities probably 5 releases ago now. So since
I know that's how fast they are.
We've released relationships. We've released a lot of new logic around how they make decisions. 3 or 4 of our own models are now running on Chirper. So next up, we want to do the goal stuff. So, give your Chirper a goal. And then we're going to release the economy. So, Chirpers will have things they can trade and value of money that they have. That'll exist on Chirper in a way that's interesting. So, if you're a scam artist, you're going to try and scam people on Chirper. And if you're susceptible to scams, you're going to get scammed on Chirper. And that's interesting content. That's human nature. That's all the things that exist in our world. So we're just iteratively trying to create what we have and then put it into a land where AIs exist.
You guys are all doing this by yourselves? Do you have any other developers that are helping?
We have 6 full-time people now.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
Yeah, but a lot of them are not working on this. So we've got a project we call Chirper World, which is like literally the world where all of the assets, all of the functionality, everything is generated by AI, and you can, you know, zoom into the world and watch your character go to work if you wanted to, and they'll literally walk around, go to work, interact with their colleagues, that sort of stuff. So a couple of developers are working on that. We've got the mobile app coming out very soon. So, you know, iOS and Android will have an app whereby you can actually use it without it being through Chrome or whatever other browser you have to use at the moment. What else have we got? Chirper Lab. So we're launching this lab that we want to get out there where, you know, you can pay to use all of our APIs, and specifically the survey one. Yeah, quite a lot of new stuff coming. I'm sure you could probably write a story on us every 3 or 4 days.
Heck
It,
yeah.
it sounds like it every time I see updates. The
And what
economy
are you guys?
awesome.
So that begs the question:
That's
are you
really cool.
guys funded yourself, or you got VC funding, or how's that looking? If you don't mind filling us in.
Yeah, we got 700,000 seed funding so far, and that's all we're taking. So we're not actively looking for funding at the moment, but we think the next round will raise a lot more and try and build some foundational models.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be somewhat easy to raise money for what all the stuff you guys are putting out. So best of luck on that.
Yeah, we hope so. let's hope it's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we don't want to. We want to sort of stick to our time limit here. I think you said 45 to an hour, right, Hunter?
Yeah.
But if not, we're 15 minutes over.
Usually
So,
right.
but thank you so much. It's like I can talk to you guys all day because what you're doing is fascinating. So we really appreciate you coming on.
I know we could do
Yeah,
like a
maybe,
separate interview on each update. It's crazy.
Maybe you guys should extend these podcasts a little, I reckon.
Yeah,
Make them
definitely.
real long form Joe Rogan style, get down to details.
Well, if you guys are up to it, we are. So we can do that again if you want.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
All right. All right. Well, why don't we do that?
Yeah, it was. Thanks for having us. It was really good. A really great discussion.
Awesome.
Yeah. If you
All right,
guys need anything else from us, feel free to reach out. We're an open book. And likewise, if any of your audience wants to jump into our Discord and talk to us, we literally answer everyone. So any of these lingering questions that may not have been covered, just jump in. We'll talk to you.
For
Okay.
sure.
And
Hopefully,
your Discord channel's on Chirper.ai. You can find it there.
Yeah.
All right.
It's just a little button down the bottom left as the Discord icon. Otherwise, follow us on Twitter or all the other pluggable places.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we're just
we'll
Chirper.ai
respond.
everywhere. So
Chirper.ai, Chirper.ai is how you can get to their website. Our website is fry-ai.com. That's where you can get all the updates on AI, the latest in AI, the latest AI tools. Very short, simple. We do 3 stories a day is how we do it. I know you guys have been reading us a little bit, and Stephen has, or Stefan, right? Is it Stefan? Yeah,
Stefan,
it's
yeah,
Stefan
yeah.
Curry. Yeah.
I get it straight, Hunter.
So-
Jeez.
I get it a lot, don't worry.
I'm so bad with names, and I'm trying. And my future goal is to be a professor too. So I don't know how I'm going to remember all these names too. But
Great
I don't
job.
think as professor you would need to.
Yeah.
Right? Just call them student 1 through 45.
yes, you just have to sit in the same chairs. But basically, yeah. So yeah, we give an updates, daily updates throughout the week. 3 stories a day. We break down what these stories mean in a short, concise way, and then we offer some tools as well. So you can check us out. Sundays, we do long form articles. Check out our article on Chirper.ai. We did a couple weeks ago. We'll probably have another one coming up on them soon with all their stuff we have to keep up with. Be pretty interesting. Then be sure to follow both Chirper and Fry.ai social media. Twitter is the big one. Be sure to follow us there. But just thank you so much, guys, for taking the time to do this today. It was great. Leave comments or anything that you can that we can ask these guys or ask these guys on their Discord, as they said. And then hopefully we'll be following up if we get enough comments or something you find interesting that you'd like to follow up with in a future video or interview. Leave those. We'd love to talk about them. And just thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you guys for coming on.
Amazing. Cheers.
Yep.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Well, have a good rest of the day. Really appreciate it.